got me out of my darkest of nights. Such mercy, such mercy you shown. You died in my place, beaten so I could go free. What beautiful song you sang over us. You open your heavens to see. Beautiful, such a beautiful love. What glorious love. Wonderful joy that you give. And your beautiful scars. Beautiful heart, got me out of my darkest of nights. How great you are, Lord, oh, how great you are. Oh, how wonderful. You're so glorious, you're so glorious. Precious Lamb upon the throne. Oh, how great you are. Oh, how wonderful. You're so glorious. Lamb upon the throne. What beautiful scars and beautiful heart. Open the heavens for me. Lord, what beautiful scars. Beautiful heart. They open the heavens for me. Oh, how great, and oh, how great you are. And oh, how wonderful. And you're so glorious. Lamb upon the throne. And oh, how great you are. Oh, Jesus. Oh, how wonderful. And you're so glorious. Lamb upon the throne. I sing praises to your name. Praises to your name. The name that's so much higher than all names. All honor to your name. Honor to your name. sing praises. I'll sing praises to your name. Oh, Jesus, praises to your name. The name that's so much higher than all names. Your name is life, Lord, your name is hope inside me, hope inside me. Your name is love, a love that always finds me, always finds me. Your name is life. Your name is hope inside me, hope inside me. Your name is love, a love that always finds me, always finds me. Be lifted up. Lifted higher, be lifted up, be lifted higher, be lifted up, Lord, be lifted higher. Lifted up, be lifted higher. A thousand generations falling down in worship to sing the song of ages to the Lamb. And all who've gone before us and all who will believe will sing the song of ages to the Lamb. Let's sing that again. A thousand generations, oh, falling down in worship to sing the song of ages to the Lamb. And all who've gone before us and all who will believe will sing the song of ages to the Lamb. Lord, your name is the highest, your name is the greatest, your name, it stands above them all thrones and dominions, all power and positions. Your name stands above them all, and the angels cry, holy, all creation cries, holy, you are lifted high, holy, name is life. Your name is the hope inside me. Hope inside me. Your name is love. A love that always finds me. Always finds me. Your name is life. Your name is hope inside me. Hope inside me. Your name is love. A love that always finds me. Always be lifted up. Be lifted up. Be lifted higher. Be lifted up. Be lifted higher. Sing it with me, church. Be lifted up, Jesus. Be lifted higher. Be lifted up. Be lifted higher.
Holy Spirit is just thick in this room more than I've ever sensed it before. Don't try to start moving in your life. Don't resist it. Let it come, Lord. Let it come. Let it come, Lord.
Yes, Lord.
Wash over us, God. The wounded in our lives, the healing that's needed, Lord. Wash over us. Come, Holy Spirit. Come, Holy Spirit, to do a mighty thing. Bring Jesus in our presence. Receive my love, Holy Spirit. Receive it. Nothing you have to beg him for. It's already been offered. It's already been sufficient for you. You just have to receive it. I forgive you. I say it again. I forgive you. Because that's my heart. That's my heart for you. I came to planet Earth to express that in the greatest way I knew how. My son Jesus walked among you. Through my Holy Spirit, now I am with you. Receive my love.
Know how great you are, Lord. Oh, how wonderful. You're so glorious. Precious Lamb upon the throne. Oh, how great you are, Jesus. Oh, how wonderful. You're so glorious. Lamb upon the throne. What beautiful scars gave us life, Lord. And your beautiful heart showed us heaven, Lord. Your beautiful scars draw us to you, Lord. Your beautiful heart is like nothing I've ever known. Lord, we live on the altar. Oh, you are worth what you've asked for. Lord, we live on the altar. And oh, you are worth what you've asked for. We live on the altar for you. Oh, you are worth what you ask for. Holy Lord. Careful. The black thing? I don't know. Okay, that might be too loud. We're there.
Worship whiplash.
We're there.
All right, hang on. How are you doing? Gosh, if you didn't have enough caffeine, that's anti-sleep, right? All right. I'm gonna walk over here and I'll get. Okay. Got the section during worship? Yeah. Yeah. Being raised Catholic, there's this part of prior to communion when we recount what happened during on the cross and what led up to the cross, and there's this reading that happens in a Catholic mass, and typically you would put your hand on your heart and just 3 times. You'd hear the bells ring too. Not the bells in my head, but the altar voice. And you'd say, "My Lord, my God. My Lord, my God." Can you hear me okay? Yeah. I have to stay over here? All right, geez. So, am I good? I'm like, am I? I'm in a bubble. In a bubble. A bubble girl. And you would just say, my Lord, my God. And my Lord, my God. And there's times that's just so appropriate in our worship, or when someone prays and it just, oh, you resonate with it. And God's tender and he's close to you. And you just go, oh, my Lord and my God. Right here. So I think worship was that way today, just right here. Right here where it counts, right? My Lord and my God. And I used this a little bit on Christmas Eve or candlelight service, but I have got these crosses here, and they have different things burned into it. It's like the great exchange, when we give ourselves over to the Lord. I was blind, but now I see, and hate and love, and let's see what else. And people have put down lost and found, and abused, but beloved. It's the great exchange, right? Shame, pure, clean. And I just want to invite, after the service, if anyone wants to take one of these, and just as a reminder, you certainly can have it. This we had a whole bunch of these that we did with primarily Native Americans that went through the what was that program called, Zane? Montana Youth Challenge, back when we were there. So it's kind of a military-ish thing, and it's a do-over for folks. Get their GED, but it was mostly Native Americans. And these were these kids that had been through unbelievable abuse, most of them. And so they had written on here, and then we took a wood burner and carved it in. And so, do we still have a ringing there with the? Can you hear me okay? I know my voice is soft, so sometimes it's hard to pick up. Where do you want it?
Too far away, that's fine.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, better? All right. So, anyways, I think that's it's worth noting. And so I've kept them. I took them from Montana with me. And some of them took them home. That was the idea, that it could take them home. But many of them just didn't get back to us in time before their class was over. And so, anyways, I have them. And they've been good show and tells. So if you want one, you can come get one later. So we have a few announcements. Here we go. A few announcements. So we're going to have a women's get together on Monday, February 6th, right? The 6th? The 3rd. Gee. Whatever it takes. The 3rd. At 6 p.m. And I'm going to make some soup, so it's going to be soup and a roll for the soul. And we're going to do My Heart, Christ's Home. It's this little booklet that I have, and it's just sweet. It's written a long time ago. I think maybe it was an InterVarsity thing, so I'm trying to think. I think it was maybe written in the 50s. But I really like it. It's really simple, and it comes off of the Ephesians, where he talks about that Christ makes his home in our heart, or his abode in our heart. And so we're going to talk about the rooms in our heart, and do we let him in all the different areas in our life? And it's just a charming little pamphlet, and we'll do that. We'll see how far that gets us. But we're going to meet once a month, and we'll just share a simple meal, and it's going to be right here. And it's an easy thing to take a friend to, or a neighbor, or coworker. Everything we do is, we want to be inviting, and yet it's really good for us, as just having closeness, So we have that. So I'll see you gals there, and it's once a month, and so we could call it a monthly, the women's monthly, but I don't know, that doesn't have a good connotation, does it? No, it just doesn't. I have no shame. Okay, and so then what else do we have up there for announcements? I can't read the one in the back. Oh, yes, Passport. So we have this book. I'm going to be buying some more as well, but this is my copy. And we're going to, discipleship seems like a hard word. So let's call it your faith journey. And so your faith journey, and we'll get you together with another person in the church, and you can just go through this. It's really simple, and it's just the basics of how do we explore this journey with God. And so this is just a helpful thing, and it's a neat way to get to know someone too. And you can just mix it up any way you want. It can be once a week, once every 2 weeks, meet for lunch, at lunchtime, or in the evening, or whatever. And so we'll pair you up with someone, and so be thinking of that. This is going to be always an ongoing thing as people are exploring their faith journey and want that encouragement towards that. I think that over the years, this has been one of the best things that I see. It's just super user-friendly, and just kind of gets you to expand yourself a bit in your faith journey. So there's that. Then let's see. We have a night of worship to be announced. We have, what do you have up there? Oh, Jeremy Springer is going to be doing worship for us Sunday morning, the 9th, correct? 9th. And so that's awesome. Although our team is great. I love them. You guys rock. It's just, God's presence was just so thick this morning, like Saint said. And but anyway, so he's coming. And Roger's going to be getting a little eye surgery, and then later he's getting a hand surgery. So poor man, he's falling apart. So, yeah. So, blessings, brother. And but I mean, I'm one to talk. Well, look at Zane, the poor man. He just had a big back surgery, and so, anyways, he is looking real good. He's looking fine as a fiddle. Okay, and so what else do we have? We have go back. Potluck, end of February, potluck, more details to be announced because I need to talk to our team about that. So, Easter pancake breakfast, I got it, yeah. So Easter, we're going to do a pancake breakfast. More information on that but I think that'll be a cool thing. We'll advertise for it and so on. And then, I'm looking at my list out there. Work party to be announced. We just need some basic deep cleaning, and we've got all kinds of things falling apart with our buildings, and so that's going to be an ongoing thing. But we'll have like at least a work day to, as we get closer to spring, to just clean, sprucing up outside and that kind of thing. So, all right, to be announced. Then National Conference. The Vineyard National Conference is going to be June 16th through the 20th. So mark your calendars if you're thinking that you'd like to go to that. It's in Denver. So think on that. And if you've never been to any of our Vineyard conferences, they're really great to go to. It'd be a great, if you got a hankering to take some vacation. And then, again, further your faith journey. It's a great thing. The worship's always fantastic. The teaching is, and we realize we're part of this bigger thing, this bigger story, this bigger narrative when we have our Vineyard conferences and our sister churches, and it's encouraging. It's a great thing to do. So if you're inclined, that's the date. What else? Did I cover it all? Baptisms, church at the beach. So we're looking at June. And so that's a cool thing to do, and we might combine it at the same time. Again, we're going to talk to our team a little bit more about that. But Zane and I, we've been thinking and percolating, and so maybe we'll do church at the beach, but maybe we'll go acoustic, and we'll be all out on the Taft Beach there, and we'll baptize, there and do church and go acoustic. And so, we'll see what Roger says. And then, on that. But that's kind of what we're thinking in that vein. We might combine that, and then we'll do another church at the beach further in the summer. So I've got to land those dates with the Parks and Rec and get those permits. But so more to be announced. And then I think that's it now. Did I cover it? I got it covered. The staff, they were a little concerned a couple of weeks ago, going, nobody has anything to look forward to. And we're like, well, we've been a little bit out of it lately, for sure. But there's stuff between here percolating. So there it is. And they're right. We have to have things on the calendar. So sorry that there was a little slip in our cog there for a while. I was pretty preoccupied taking care of Zane before surgery, after surgery, and now doesn't it feel like a new day, Zane? Doesn't it feel like a new day? Like, it's like, here we go. Buckle up. That's right, buckle up. Okay, so now, didn't Katrina just do a fantastic job last week teaching? She was, it's like, well, how in the world do I follow that? Because it was just so well done and so well studied, and I'm such a goof, so there's that. So, okay, so where that takes us is, Paul and the ship he had been on, remember there was this horrible storm, and the angel of the Lord appeared to Paul and said, don't worry, because I'm getting you to Rome. Remember he had a mandate to go to Rome and speak to the leaders, and he had his guard with him, and it was a deal. But they went through just amazing things on that boat. What a story. They're throwing their cargo over. They were scared for their lives. Some people were thinking of lowering the boat and sneaking off, and it was a scary, long, enduring travel. And then they had ropes around the boat to tighten it up, and this is not a little boat like Katrina was talking about. This was a bigger ship. Matter of fact, it was an Alexandrian vessel from Egypt. So it was for trade and for hauling prisoners around, and so then they end up. Paul says, "You haven't eaten. You got guys, 270. How many people were on that boat? Do you remember, Katrina? I have it written down. That's right, 276 on the boat. And he said, none of you are going to die. We're all going to make it. And so hang in there. So they ate. Things got worse. They crashed. They ran aground and got stuck. And if you've ever been on a boat, you're always watching your depth meter. If you've been on a sailboat, Zane used to crew on a racing boat in Seattle, and so and then the skipper was very generous and let us use his boat, and we went up to where'd we go? Where'd we go that one time? No, not the Bremerton one, the one up towards Canada. Friday. Anyways, at any rate, you're watching that depth meter because there's channels. You just don't know if all of a sudden it rises. And so you're watching that like crazy. And we were scared to death we were going to ruin this guy's boat. And and then to pull in, to dock and all that, it's unnerving, but great adventure. So anyways, so here they were. They didn't have depth meters watching that. They crash. They're saying, okay, jump overboard, swim, grab debris off the boat. They all made it. So they made it. So here we are, and we're at chapter 28, verse 1. And and if you guys if you have a Bible, use it. If you have your Bible on your phone, if you don't have one, you can get the Bible app and do that. We have Bibles back here if you need them. And so if you need a Bible, lift your hand up, and Eric will find a Bible and give it to you. Right, Eric? That's right. So anybody, you want to just lift up your hand? Do I have this positioned right? Yes? Okay. Once we were safe on shore, so they're on the island of Malta. Once we were safe on shore, we learned that we were on the island of Malta. The people of the island were very kind to us. It was cold and rainy, so they built a fire on the shore to welcome us. As Paul gathered an armful of sticks and was laying them on the fire, a poisonous snake, driven out by the heat, bit him on the hand. Okay, let's just stop for a minute. Hasn't Paul been through enough? I mean, have you ever been bitten by a snake? Who's been bitten by a snake? Anybody? No. You have. Wow. God must be with you. So, they've been through so much, and the people were there. They saw, can you imagine? 276 men are coming on shore. They're exhausted. They're, can you imagine? Can you see the scene? Hear the waves, the weather, and the people on the island are rushing to them. Now, there's another boat that had docked there that was an Alexandrian boat from Egypt. We find out later. And so they were a point of trade. They were a point of like layover for the winter months. So there's that. They were Phoenician. Most of the islanders were Phoenicians that had colonized there in 1000 BC. And at 282 BC, the Romans took it over. They fought them for it, got it. They took it over. So currently, they had a governor of Rome that lived there with his family. It was also a place of retirement for veterans and their families. So, and it was known for prosperity and residential architecture. So the homes were beautiful. So this is Malta. So it's a different cultures. We think of Malta and they crash on this island that it's just like these, tribes, islander people. But there was far more to the island than that. The Phoenicians, their language, other translations refer to them as barbarians. And our idea of barbarian is like, next to madmen, right? Barbarian, they eat people, or they're just, how can you reason with barbarians? But that's far from who they are. Where we get our root word for barbarian comes from the Roman, that part of the world, the Romans and the Jews and the Greeks. Everything else, in far as languages, sounded like bar to them and so that's where the word came from, was barbarians, because everything just sounds like bar. They couldn't make it out. So it wasn't meant to be a dig. It was just their way of describing. It was somebody outside of what they knew the world languages to be, and so it was bar. So I thought that's what it said right in the commentary. I thought that was a little bit comical. That's where that term came from. So 276 men survived. There it is. I knew it was in my notes. And but Paul had told them that the angel of the Lord had appeared to me, and it's going to be okay. You're going to make it. Take courage, but you will be shipwrecked. So he's telling them this. We're going to be shipwrecked. Take courage. Eat up now. And, God's with us. And there they go. They get ready. And actually, the dialect of these Phoenicians was called Punic dialect. Just a little side note. The island was 18 by 8 miles. And so they all came running. And then even the governor of the island helped out, and he had some property there, and he had Paul and some of his people there for 3 days, and as well, they got all the people they really helped and took care of them. So the meaning of the name Malta is a place of refuge. And so here, this is a barbarian environment. They believe in some Greek gods. They have their own. And so when Paul gets bit, which we'll read, they think, oh, he's a murderer. He's under judgment. I mean, they just jumped, boom, right to it, even though their name means a place of refuge. And indeed, that's who they were. That's how they lived. That they were a port. They were between Sicily and Africa. So they were a good in-between place. So isn't that interesting? Just to kind of set some of this. So anyways, bit him on the hand. The people of the island saw it hanging from his hand and said to each other, "A murderer, no doubt, no doubt." That's like Miss Piggy, no doubt. Though he escaped the sea, justice will not permit him to live. But Paul shook off the snake into the fire and was unharmed. The people waited for him to swell up or suddenly drop dead. But when they had waited a long time, they saw that he wasn't harmed. And they changed their minds and decided he was a god. They changed their minds. So he didn't swell up and die. He wasn't dead till morning. But he doesn't tell them to don't call me a god, which I thought was interesting, because we have a place earlier where they say, oh, you're a god, but they started to worship him. And they said, you can't do that. So, but this time they weren't going to worship him. And the commentary says, depending on the language and what translation, it's like a god or a very close friend of a god. So who is in on the know with some god. And so there's that. I'm going to take a little sidetrack. I want to talk about, we can so easily be like the people of Malta. On one hand, we are to be a place of refuge, right? Jesus is our refuge. He's our rock, our fortress, our refuge, that we rest we take shelter under the shadow of his wing. And so, being in step with that, being in tow with that, being Christ-like, we are to be places of refuge for people. And so we are when we think about our location and what all happens here. There is this place of refuge. But it doesn't just stop at that. But I want to think about the attitude behind that. It was part of their religiosity of sorts that led them to that false conclusion that he must be a murderer then. He didn't get killed on all they went through out on the sea, so he's going to get it now. And also, they knew there were prisoners on board that ship. So in some ways, it was maybe a reasonable conclusion in a way, but not. We don't know what we don't know. And I say this because how quick are we to make those judgments on people, to make these assumptions. And you know what happens when we assume, right? Yeah. How quick we are. So it's, part of it's a human thing. It's a human condition that what you got, I don't want. I don't want what you have. So you've done something to cause this to befall you. I can remember this family, this was years ago when we were in Lancaster, California, the church there. We were quite a bit younger. But I remember this couple in their, I don't know, they were in their 40s or 50s at the time. And she just, over a period of several years, kept getting into car wrecks. And I mean, and there was just nothing about her that says, oh, she's just, doesn't pay attention. She doesn't, I mean, she's just a sharp woman. Both her and her husband had been in the ministry at one point. They were servants of all kinds at the Desert Vineyard, and she was part of the worship team. I mean, she was a lovely woman, but it was her that kept getting into these car wrecks and, messed her neck up and her back up, and then she'd start getting better, and then she'd get another little, bumper due. Not all of them were serious accidents, but she was scared out of her mind. I mean, she just was. She had post-traumatic stress, I'm sure, and rightly so. And you know what some of the leaders around us said, who stay unnamed? They were like, you know what? What's the deal with them? It said their names. What's the deal with them? I wonder what's going on that's, causing this to keep happening. I wonder if there's something wrong with her. Not in her eyesight, not in her brain, her sin condition, to allow that she's just open to, these things befalling her. It was a super judgmental thing, when really she should have been rallied around and prayed up and so sorry that this keeps happening and what can we do for you? And, but no, that wasn't it. It was like, what you got, I don't want. And it must be because there's something wrong with you, that it keeps reoccurring. It must be you. Have you ever had thoughts like that? I remember we were young parents, and there was folks that, they were older than us, they had adult children. And their kids weren't walking with the Lord anymore. They'd turned from the Lord. Or they were disenfranchised from their kids. There was separation. They weren't talking for a time. There was some problems. And I can remember in my own stupidity thinking to myself, in my own heart, I wonder what's wrong with them. I wonder what really, you never really know what goes on behind four walls. Have you ever thought that way about someone? I remember thinking that I had this parenting thing down in my young years. And thinking, well, were they really trusting the Lord? Did they really raise their children in the ways of the Lord? Did they, maybe someone has an abuse problem, or, you just go on and on. Thinking about this poor couple that love their kids like crazy and they're trusting God for them. And what am I thinking? Stupidity. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking nonsense. There must be a reason, because that's not going to happen to my kids. There must be a Bitterroot judgment somewhere. You ever hear that one, church? We have got to watch it. So the people of Malta are no different than us. They had a call in them from above. I believe that. They were a place of refuge. But they almost missed it, being stupid. They had a few things they could put together. Prisoners, he must be a murderer. I lost my fingers water skiing. And and you guys have heard my story, so I'm not going to belabor my story, but I was seeking the Lord with all I had as a teenager, just graduating from high school. All I had, that's all I wanted was him, and I wanted to serve him with all my might. And I didn't know what that was going to be and what that was going to look like. And then I went water skiing, and the rope got caught around my hand. And anyways, I'm home, and the elders of the church, I went to this little Baptist church, and they were a great church. They truly were. But the elders wanted to know if they could get together with me and pray for me. And I was like, yes. But I was really nervous too, because, it was these like real adults. And I was going to show up at I was going to go to one of their houses, and there they all were, and they wanted to hear my story, and they were going to lay hands on me and anoint me with oil and pray for me and pray for my healing. So I'm all in. I'm all in. But to my dismay, and although that was true, they also wanted to know, did I have any sin in my life? What had I done, perhaps, that this would befall me? And I just, I was very disappointed that was the question. Are you sure? And it's like, no, I don't, I don't sleep with guys that do, and I was a really good kid because I wanted the Lord. I had a lot of reason to rebel. Family divorce, my mom left us when I was a teenager, and all those things. I had a lot of reason to rebel, but I didn't. I stuck it out with the Lord. That's all I had. So I kind of told him that. He's all I have. I'm living with my dad, my sister, and my dad doesn't know the Lord, and drinking a lot. Not me, Dad. And they were like, You could tell they were trying to find out the reason. And I was still pretty shy and soft-spoken person. I know it's hard to imagine that I could ever be shy, but I was. And I just started after losing my fingers, I started coming out, of my shell. And so there I was sitting with them, and I said, consider Job. And the way I lost my fingers, and I felt like the Lord had shown me some things before I had gone water skiing, not realizing that he was actually preparing me. And so when I read Job, I saw that Satan was given permission to touch him, but not take his life. And to do these things. And Job, we all know, went through terrible sufferings. Lost his wife and kids and boils, and he had stones and trying to scratch off his boils. It's horrible. He was a hurting dude. But when it was all said and done, God says to him, "Where were you when I made the lizard?" And Job was like, "Now I have seen you, and I know." It drew him to him. So anyways, I just kind of briefly blew through Job, that God, had allowed it, and that God works his purposes. And I'm trusting that is exactly what's happened with me. And I think they were ashamed. I think they ended up feeling rather shameful that they had asked these questions, because it was so inappropriate. Let's kick her while she's down. My hands wrapped up. I could not afford to lose weight. I was already underweight, and I lost 10 pounds just for that whole experience. And and my hand wrapped up. I'm having to keep it elevated, and I'm there. I've got a bandage on my leg from where they took the skin graft, and they had the gall to ask me that. Think about it, church. What the hell are we doing? What are we doing to one another? Malta, it was so close. What if somebody else had been bitten there and died? They could have, you know what I mean? It could have been a whole different kettle of worms, snakes. Anyways, so there's that. There's this great, there's a pastor gal I know 10 years ago or more. Her stepson had cancer, like I think if I remember right, like a brain tumor. He's married, kids. Anyways, he died. It was a terrible tragedy. And she had, my friend, the pastor friend, has a massive heart attack. Pacemaker put in, all those things. And they just had the 10-year anniversary of that and got a new pacemaker put in because, the battery gets low, And good bill of health. Guess what her church did? Did they rally around her and her husband? They did not. You know what they did? They said, what's wrong with you in your life that God allowed Satan to do this? This is part of God's judgment. That church never recovered. I mean, these were friends of theirs for years. I mean, the church exists now, but it's very different. It's a different pastor, woman that I know, great lady, and it's a home church environment in Shoreline where we used to live, and she got emails, nasty things put on Facebook, and even I talked to her. I remember 3 years ago. They were still putting stuff out there. It's like, what? Church? I mean, I knew some of these people. It's like, what are we doing? Must be a murderer. Must be a bad pastor. Something you did wrong. You did something wrong. So what you got, we don't want. We're trying to insulate ourselves so much in our world. COVID, oh God, COVID. Everybody on different places with that, and the politics and the mess, and if you believe this, then you're all that. If you believe that, then you're all this. We don't know what we don't know. There was 2 nurses at our hospital in Little Dillon. One was a young man as healthy as could be. Got a little sick, and he didn't get out of bed in the morning. His dad found him, and they're dead because of COVID. He couldn't breathe. He didn't even know he had it. Another nurse was found, they didn't know why she wasn't coming in for a shift. She was in her car, dead. You don't know what you don't know. Why are they wearing those masks? Well, they're a health worker, or maybe they have an elderly person, or maybe they have an immunity problem, or, they got fear. It's like, come on, church. Stop it. Stop it. Grow up and be caring. Malta did. They did something amazing. They were kind. They were kind. And God did something amazing. Let's find out. Place of Refuge. They were a place of refuge. A murderer, no doubt. Though he escaped the sea, justice will not permit him to live. But Paul shook off the snake into the fire and wasn't harmed. The people waited to see if he'd swell up and die, but not. So they changed their minds. So near the shore where we landed, this is Luke talking. He's the writer of Acts, and he's hanging out with this whole, he's seeing this all firsthand. Near the shore where we landed was an estate belonging to Publius, the chief official of the island, the governor. He welcomed us and treated us kindly for 3 days. And as it happened, Publius' father was ill with fever and dysentery. So Paul went in and did what Paul does, right? And prayed for him, laying his hands on him and healed him. Then all the other sick people on the island, I mean, there had to have been hundreds of people that lived on this island, knowing a little bit of their history now, right? The other sick people on the island came and were healed. And as a result, we were showered with honors. And when the time came to sail, people supplied us with everything we would need for the trip. I mean, think about Paul's travels, and I mean, just amazing. So he prays, he's healed. Words out now. And now these are Phoenicians, these are Greek, Hebrew, Romans, they're all there on this island. People from Egypt. So everyone that was sick, now did they come all at once? Maybe not, that might have been more of a hyperbole, but it could have been over the time they were there. We don't know. We're not really sure, and it doesn't really matter. But all that needed healing were healed. So what happened is so his father had, Publius had a fever and dysentery. Not pretty. In the late 1800s, the islands, all in that area, it was not uncommon for this disease that happened as a result of the goat milk. And so they came up with a vaccine in the late 1800s. And it was unclear to me if the vaccine was for the animal or for the people. I'm not sure. That was unclear to me. But it would produce those symptoms, and people would have this for years. And they would have the word fever. They had fever or fevers. It was plural. In other words, this had been an ongoing thing for this man. So it would take you out if you survived it for some years. It would eventually take you out. You're dehydrated. Anyways, so they think that's probably what it was. The chances are strong. So the chances are strong there was a lot of people with a similar malady, right? So, yeah, so there's that. But they didn't need to know what it was, but we like to know today. So there, that's what we think it was. We don't know. But we don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Was he sick because he had been a bad father? No. He was just sick. He was sick. The Roman governor, isn't it remarkable that he was so hospitable and had them in his home and on their property? So this little place of Malta, to me, looks as though, even though there's broad experience or there's different ethnic type of things happening there, there's a sense of unity. We're here to help people. This is what we do. We're from Malta. This is what we do. So I like that. I'm just saying. Remember that? I don't have my little thing anymore. I'm just saying. That was one of my teachings. Paul was just saying a lot. So don't judge lest you be judged. Bear one another's burdens. Love is a verb. Love is a verb. It's an action word. Galatians 1 talks about how Christ set us free. And then in verse 16, it's, let the Holy Spirit, this is Galatians 5:16, let the Holy Spirit guide your life. Let the Holy Spirit guide your life. Because in Galatians 5:15 it says, if you are always biting and devouring one another, this is what Paul says, Look out, watch out, beware of destroying one another. So with my friend, the pastor, and that church, it was, what does James say? The tongue is like a fire. It can just light a forest. Look at Southern California. The rain falls on the good and the bad, the righteous and the unrighteous. Don't be so quick to judge. We're not supposed to. We're not supposed to be judging. We're supposed to be loving. We're supposed to be embracing. We're supposed to give mercy and compassion. And that's what Malta did. And if they can do that, and they ended up, I'm sure many ended up getting saved as a result of that whole experience. But us who know God, we can do better. But Paul says, watch out. Watch out. Don't devour one another. Look out. And of course, I'm not accusing any of you guys of that. I mean, I really think you guys are amazing. I truly do. But I just think our culture is so bent to this. There's an element of the church at large that's so bent to this thing of casting blame. And I just want to give caution, because they could have missed it. They had Paul. They had the Apostle Paul and Luke, and who knows else who they had with them right there. Think of that. What an honor. They have one of their bays named after the Apostle Paul today. But they could have missed it. They were just like that close to missing it. But they didn't. They didn't. And the scripture is really very clear about their kindness. Perfect love casts out all fear. Let your mind, Philippians 4, let your mind dwell on what's true, pure, right, honorable, of good report. And if there's anything praiseworthy, let your mind dwell on these things. That's how we live. Romans 12, be happy with those that are happy and weep with those who weep. And they didn't do that for my friend. And maybe as a young adult, I could have done that for those adults that are my age now, that were, so mourning for their adult children. The hearts were breaking. Why didn't I be more embracing? Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? I had young children. I didn't want what they had. And so we live in more fear than we realize, church. That's what causes that kind of stuff. Bad religiosity and fear. And then we do these things and we try to couch it in something that's spiritual, but it's not. It's unkind. It's unkind. But Malta almost missed it, but they didn't. So, 1 Corinthians 13. We know this one. Love is patient. Do we have it up? Yeah. It's up there. Good. I'm going to put my glasses back on. Love is a verb. Right? Yes. We're almost done here. Thanks for your patience this morning. Okay, if I could speak all the languages of earth and angels, but didn't love others, I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy and if I understood all of God's secret plans and possessed all knowledge, and if I had such faith that I could move mountains, but didn't love others, I would be nothing. If I gave everything I have to the poor and even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it. But if I didn't love others, I would have gained nothing. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable. I get irritable sometimes. And it keeps no record of being wrong. Ooh, that's a hard one. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, always hopeful, endures through every circumstance. Isn't that good? I love that one. And of course, down to verse 13. 3 things will last forever: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. Let's pray. Want to stand up? Lord, I just myself, I know I can be so dang judgmental that I can have these secret thoughts. I might not share it with anybody. And sometimes I'm stupid enough to share it with someone. And so, Lord, I just ask for your forgiveness for my judgmental ways. And Lord, I think that's true for, it's just what's common to man. We all wrestle with those things. Lord, have mercy on us that we don't speak those things out, that we don't act those things out. But we have eyes, Lord, that we would have our Father's eyes, God the Father, and we would continue to love and love large. My Lord and my God. Yes. It's because of his great love. I've been redeemed. So if anybody needs prayer, grab someone or come on up here. And do we have anybody we'll have some folks over here to pray for you if you like. And we'll see women. We'll see you on the 3rd, right? 3rd, yes. 3rd at 6. 3rd at 6. Thanks, you guys.